The prayer everyone knows, but nobody knows. For over 2 millennia, billions of lips have spoken the same lines. Children memorize it. Priests chant it. Whole crowds murmur it on Sundays. And yet, almost no one grasps what it actually means. We've been taught to treat it like a lullaby to heaven, a safe, soft ritual. But what if it was never meant as a ritual at all? What if every syllable is part of a spiritual cipher, hidden in plain sight? What if Jesus wasn't trying to teach religion, but consciousness? The version you've always heard is a translation of a translation, layered under centuries of dogma. But the original Aramaic, the language Jesus really spoke, pulses with something far older and stranger. It's not a polite request to a distant sky god. It's a roadmap to awaken the sleeping self. And when you start to decode it, the way you see reality itself will shift. We all know how it begins, "Our Father, who art in heaven." These words echo in churches, whispered at bedsides and repeated in unison by millions. They sound comforting, sacred, simple. And because of that familiarity, we rarely stop to ask, what does it really mean? What if beneath its simplicity lies something far more profound? What if the prayer you thought you knew was never meant to be a routine recital, but a hidden teaching, a map for awakening, for those with ears to hear and eyes to see? The Lord's Prayer, as Jesus gave it, isn't just a set of words. It's a spiritual formula, a coded invocation designed to align your inner being with the very rhythms that sustain the universe. This is why mystics across time have hinted that inside its cadence beats the rhythm of creation itself. Each line is more than poetry, it's a key that unlocks resonance, balance, and connection with the source. But to grasp it, we must go back beyond the English translations we grew up with, back beyond centuries of ritual and repetition, back to the original language, the living sounds on the lips of Jesus himself. Because in those original vibrations, the prayer shifts. It is no longer about asking a distant God for favors. It becomes an inner activation. Not theology, not dogma, but transformation. To unlock the depth of this prayer, we have to begin with its very first words. In English, we know them as, "Our Father, who art in heaven." But in the tongue Jesus actually spoke, Aramaic, it begins with something far more mysterious. Abun dibwashmea. Already, the sound itself carries a vibration we don't hear in English. Abun doesn't just mean Father. It's not pointing to a man-like figure in the clouds. Instead, it fuses both the masculine and the feminine, pointing to the source, the living breath behind all existence, the primal force that gives birth to galaxies, to life, to every heartbeat. And then Dibwashmea. We've been taught it simply means in heaven. But in Aramaic, it points to something deeper. Not a faraway place above the clouds, but a dimension of vibration, a subtle field of energy from which all reality flows. It is the invisible matrix of creation, the unseen dimension where thought becomes form, where spirit becomes matter. So when Jesus begins his prayer with Abun dibwashmea, he is not teaching us to address a distant deity. He is reminding us of the source that is already within and around us. It is less about pleading with God and more about tuning ourselves, like an instrument, into harmony with the universal song. This single phrase transforms the entire prayer. It stops being external worship and becomes inner alignment. It shifts from asking to resonating, from reaching out to awakening within. Jesus wasn't giving his followers a religious chant. He was handing them a living code, a way to connect to the infinite frequency that animates the cosmos. And it all begins with these words, Abun dibwashmea. The next line of the prayer is one we all know, hallowed be thy name. To most ears it sounds like polite reverence, a respectful nod toward the divine. But in the original Aramaic, the phrase carries a vibration far more alive. Nethkadash shmak. This doesn't mean, let us praise your name, as if God needed our compliments. It means something radical. May the vibration of your being be made holy within us. It is not about honoring a distant title. It is about embodying the frequency of the divine name inside our very selves. To the mystics of old, the name of God was never just a word. It was not letters carved on stone or syllables spoken by lips. The true name was the pulse of breath itself, the inhale and exhale that holds the universe together, the silent rhythm that expands stars and contracts lungs. Every living creature already whispers this name with every breath they take. Think about that. Every heartbeat, every breath, is already pronouncing the sacred vibration that sustains existence. You don't have to learn the name. You're breathing it right now. So when Jesus said, Nethkadash shmak, he wasn't pointing us outward. He was inviting us to feel the resonance of the sacred within. This line of the prayer is like a tuning fork. It pulls us back into alignment with the source. It restores the inner harmony that allows us to move with the same creative current that once spoke the words, "Let there be." It is not about speaking the name. It is about becoming the name. The prayer continues, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." For centuries, people have repeated these words as if they were a distant wish, a plea for order in a chaotic world. But in Aramaic, the meaning shifts entirely. The phrase doesn't say, "Bring your kingdom from somewhere else." It says, "Let your kingdom arise within us." It is not something falling from the sky. It is something awakening inside the heart. The word for kingdom, Malkutha, does not mean a monarchy with crowns and thrones. It means divine order, the inner harmony where the human will merges with the universal flow. The kingdom is not a place you enter after death. It is a state of being you embody now. And when the line says, "Your will be done," the Aramaic nuance is not about obedience to an external ruler. It is about synchronization. The merging of your personal will with the cosmic pattern, like a drop of water becoming part of the ocean's tide. It is not submission, it is resonance. Then comes the phrase, "On earth as it is in heaven." This is not just poetry. It is the law of correspondence, as above, so below. The same principles that govern the higher realms also shape this physical plane. Spirit and matter are not separate, they are mirrors. In this one line, Jesus reveals the blueprint of creation itself. What is within becomes what is without. Heaven is not a location. It is a vibration, a consciousness, a reality waiting to be embodied here and now. The next request in the prayer seems so ordinary, "Give us this day our daily bread." At first glance, it looks like a simple plea for food. But once again in Aramaic, the depth opens. The word lakma does mean bread, but it also carries the meaning of wisdom, vitality, the very essence that sustains life. The phrase isn't just about loaves on a table. It is about the nourishment that feeds both body and soul. Daily bread is not merely wheat baked in an oven. It is the spiritual manna that flows from the source. It is the subtle energy, the divine current, the wisdom and clarity that keeps the inner self alive. Jesus was not telling his followers to beg for food. He was teaching them to open themselves each day to receive the life force of the universe. Every culture has echoes of this truth. The yogis of India call it prana. The sages of China call it chi. Mystics call it manna. It is the hidden nourishment of the soul, flowing through breath, through silence, through conscious awareness. This line of the prayer is an invitation to live consciously, to receive what life offers with reverence, not distraction, to see every breath, every bite, every thought as part of the nourishment shaping who we become. When we pray for daily bread, we are not only asking for survival, we are asking for sustenance of the Spirit, for the wisdom that keeps us aligned with Source. It is a reminder that true hunger is not only of the body but of the soul. Then the prayer turns to a mystery we've all heard: forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. But in the Aramaic, the word used doesn't mean sins in the way we often imagine, a list of crimes on a heavenly ledger. The word is closer to debts, mistakes, or even missed marks. It is not about guilt. It is about misalignment. To forgive, then, is not a courtroom pardon. It is a restoration of flow. When energy is blocked, when resentment or judgment hardens inside us, we fall out of harmony with the current of life. Forgiveness dissolves those blockages. It is not about excusing wrongs, it is about releasing the chains that bind us to them. And here is the secret: forgiveness works by resonance. As we forgive, so we are forgiven. Not as a transaction, not as a deal with God, but as a law of vibration. The moment we let go of the heavy weight we hold against another, that same weight falls away from us. The energy we free is the energy that frees us. This is why forgiveness is not weakness. It is liberation. To forgive is to rejoin the flow of divine current, to step back into harmony, to remember who we are beyond wounds and debts. It is the great release. The next line is one of the most misunderstood. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. At first glance, it almost sounds as if God might drag us into danger or moral failure unless we beg Him not to. But in the original tongue, the meaning shifts dramatically. The phrase can be heard as, do not let us enter into forgetfulness. Forgetfulness of what? Of who we are, of our origin, of the divine spark breathing inside us. Temptation is not just about forbidden acts. The real temptation is spiritual sleep, to live in illusion, to forget our connection, to become lost in the dream of separation. That is the true danger, to fall asleep to our own divinity. And what of evil? The Aramaic word points less to a red-horned figure and more to distortion, chaos, inner fragmentation. Evil is not an outside monster. It is the scattering of the soul when it slips out of alignment with Source. So this line of the prayer becomes a plea not for protection from demons, but for coherence, for wholeness, for the strength to remain awake in a world that constantly lulls us to sleep. It is the prayer of the awakened. Do not let us forget. Keep us centered. Keep us awake. When you see the Lord's Prayer through this lens, it becomes something entirely different. Not a bedtime routine, not a ritual, but a living blueprint for transformation. Every line vibrates with ancient wisdom, crafted not for obedience but for awakening. It isn't directed to a God out there, but to the divine essence in here. Jesus wasn't teaching dependence. He was teaching empowerment. He was showing the initiate how to enter the kingdom within, align with the sacred rhythm of the universe, and live as a conscious participant in creation. And the tragedy? This knowledge was hidden not by accident but by design. As institutional religion rose, the deeper truths were veiled, altered, translated to death. What survived was a beautiful shell, hollowed out. But the time of concealment is ending. We're in an age of remembrance. Ancient prayers are regaining their voice, not as superstition but as sacred science. So next time you whisper, Our Father, pause. Feel the vibration behind the phrase. Speak it not to plead but to activate, to reconnect, to realign. The Lord's Prayer properly understood isn't about salvation after death. It's about embodied divinity in life. Jesus wasn't giving us words. He was giving us access to the source, to the self, to the eternal now. And now you know. If what you've just heard stirred something deep within you, don't let it fade. This prayer was never meant to be routine. It was meant to awaken. And now you carry that spark. But this is only the beginning. There are more hidden teachings of Jesus, mysteries about energy, the divine self, and the secrets they never wanted you to know. So if you're ready to keep walking this path, subscribe now. Don't forget to like and share this with someone ready to awaken. Join me for the next journey, because the kingdom is not out there. It begins here within you.